Over the past few decades, our understanding of history has been flipped, shattered, and totally rewritten more times than we can count. Just when experts think they've got it all figured out, boom! A single discovery drops, and suddenly, everything we thought we knew is up for debate. From civilizations we never knew existed to discoveries that challenge everything we believed about human origins, history isn't just a story, it's a mystery that keeps rewriting itself. So, get ready, because these 15 finds didn't just challenge what we knew, they changed everything. Number 15. A man and his dog. Dogs were man's best friend even 7,000 years ago, and we've got proof. Archaeologists excavating Blick Mead near Stonehenge discovered a dog's tooth. But this wasn't just any ancient canine. Isotope analysis revealed that this pup originally came from the Vale of York, a whopping 400-kilometer journey away. That means some Mesolithic hunter-gatherer and his furry sidekick embarked on what is now the oldest known journey in British history. No roads, no GPS, no drive-through stops, just a guy and his dog trekking across prehistoric Britain. According to researchers, the dog probably looked like a modern Alsatian with some serious wolf vibes. Whether it was a hunting partner, a loyal companion, or just there to steal scraps from the fire, one thing is clear. Dogs have been crashing human adventures since the dawn of time. Number 14. Unearthing a dead language. For nearly 2,000 years, the Etruscan language has been a frustrating mystery. It shaped Latin, which shaped modern languages. Yet full-length Etruscan texts are about as common as winning lottery tickets. But in 2016, archaeologists struck gold, a 1.2-meter stone slab covered in Etruscan writing, buried beneath an ancient temple in Tuscany. The 2,500-year-old stele had been reused as part of the temple's foundation, which ironically helped preserve it. This isn't the first time an Etruscan text survived by accident. Another major find, the Linen Book of Zagreb, only made it because someone turned it into mummy wrappings. Not exactly the grand archive historians were hoping for. The text is worn and chipped, so researchers are carefully cleaning it before attempting a full translation. Early clues suggest it's religious, which could give us a rare insight into the spiritual beliefs of a civilization that left behind more questions than answers. Number 13. The elusive Higgs bison. Sometimes ancient cave paintings do more than just decorate a wall, they rewrite history. While studying artwork from Lascaux and Pergouset, scientists noticed something strange. The bison painted 20,000 years ago didn't look like the ones painted 5,000 years later. They had different horns and different bodies. That wasn't artistic freedom, it was a whole different species. To confirm it, researchers analyzed DNA from bison bones and teeth dating back between 22,000 and 12,000 years ago. The results finally solved a decade-long genetic mystery. This wasn't a steppe bison, but a hybrid species, part steppe bison, part aurochs. Turns out, scientists had been misidentifying bison DNA for years, trying to force two different species into one genetic profile. The newfound species, now called the Higgs bison, is named after the Higgs boson particle, another thing that existed long before science figured it out. Prehistoric humans had already documented this species in their cave art. We just took thousands of years to catch up. Number 12. Humanity's new mystery ancestor. Every now and then, a discovery comes along that messes up everything we thought we knew. The latest shocker? Archaeologists in Sulawesi, Indonesia, found hundreds of stone tools dating back at least 118,000 years. But according to all existing evidence, modern humans didn't arrive there until 50,000 to 60,000 years ago. So if Homo sapiens weren't there yet, who was? Some researchers believe the tools could have been made by Homo floresiensis. the short-statured hominin species found on the nearby island of Flores in 2003. Others suspect a completely unknown hominin species may have been roaming Sulawesi long before modern humans. Now, the hunt is on for fossil evidence to confirm exactly who these mystery toolmakers were. If a new hominin species is identified, it could completely change our understanding of early human migration, proving once again that history isn't written in stone. It's waiting to be dug up and rewritten. Number 11. The Cannabis Road. For years, scholars believed that China was ground zero for cannabis use, dating back around 10,000 years. But a new study suggests China wasn't the only one getting high on history. Researchers found that Eastern Europe and Japan were also using cannabis around the same time. The Free University of Berlin analyzed cannabis-related archaeological evidence and found a pattern. Western Eurasia had steady cannabis use, but in China, usage was patchy until the Bronze Age when it suddenly exploded. This suggests that cannabis wasn't just randomly popping up, it was being traded. Scholars now believe that by the Bronze Age, cannabis had become a major commodity, spreading through an early trade network similar to the Silk Road. Supporting this idea, other crops like wheat were also widely traded at the same time. And who were the likely ancient cannabis dealers? Many scholars point to the Yamnaya, a nomadic culture known for long-distance travel, cultural influence, and, apparently, trading weed. Essentially, these guys were the prehistoric version of international distributors, proving once again that humans have always found a way to move products across borders. Number 10. The Aztec Calendar Stone. One of Mexico's most famous artifacts, the Aztec Calendar Stone, has been an icon for centuries, appearing on everything from coins to history books. Yet this massive stone was actually lost for over 200 years after the Spanish conquest, only resurfacing in 1790. When German explorer Alexander von Humboldt saw it in 1803, he realized it shattered European misconceptions about Aztec culture. Rather than a relic of savage hordes, the stone revealed a civilization deeply rooted in astronomy, agriculture, and ritual. In 1892, anthropologist Zelia Nuttall was the first to decode its imagery, using pre-Columbian texts to unravel its secrets. Scholars still debate its purpose. Some say it's a calendar, others believe it was a sacrificial altar, or even a sundial. Most agree the face at the center represents Tonatiuh, the Aztec sun god. Whatever its function, the calendar stone proved the Aztecs were far more advanced than the colonizers who dismissed them. Number 9. Neanderthal skeletons. In 1856, a skeleton found in Germany's Neander Valley changed everything we thought we knew about human history. The bones looked human, but were thicker, stockier, and had a longer skull, hinting at a different kind of ancestor. This discovery officially proved that Homo sapiens weren't alone. We had close relatives. Neanderthals were long dismissed as primitive, but modern research has completely flipped that view. They created cave art, crafted tools, and even buried their dead. In 2022, scientist Svante Pääbo won a Nobel Prize for sequencing the Neanderthal genome, confirming that their DNA is 99.7% identical to ours. Even more surprising? Neanderthals interbred with early humans, leaving genetic traces in modern populations. Today, Neanderthal genes still affect our metabolism and disease risk, proving that even in extinction, they shaped who we are. What was once just a strange skeleton is now key to understanding our own evolution. Number 8. The Rosetta Stone. For centuries, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs were unreadable, their meaning lost to time. That changed in 1799 with the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, a black slab inscribed with the same text in 3 different scripts: Greek, Demotic, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. French scholar Jean-François Champollion cracked the code in 1822, unlocking Egyptian history for the modern world. The text was a royal decree, but more importantly, it became the key to deciphering an entire lost language. Before this, Egypt's past was silent, its inscriptions unreadable. With this breakthrough, historians suddenly gained access to pharaohs' names, religious beliefs, and daily life records stretching back thousands of years. It completely reshaped our understanding of ancient Egypt. Today, the Rosetta Stone is housed at the British Museum, though Egypt has repeatedly demanded its return. Without it, we might still be guessing at the meaning behind Egypt's vast hieroglyphic record. Number 7. First right-handed people. Right-handed or left-handed? Turns out, that question is nearly 2 million years old. Paleoanthropologist David Freyer found the earliest evidence of right-handedness in Homo habilis, dating back 1.8 million years. The clue? Their teeth. Scientists found tiny scratches on Homo habilis fossils, suggesting these early humans were using stone tools with their right hands while holding food in their mouths or left hands. To prove it, researchers recreated the movement. Modern participants held meat in their left hands and mouths, using stone tools in their right hands to cut it. The scratches matched exactly. Not everyone is sold on the method, but if the findings hold up, it means hand dominance has existed for way longer than we thought. Since handedness is linked to brain development, this could help us understand how early humans evolved complex motor skills and cognition. Long story short, right-handedness didn't start with modern humans. It started with hungry hominins trying to eat without stabbing themselves. Number 6. Sutton Hoo. For years, the early Middle Ages were dismissed as a time of cultural stagnation, a dark age following the fall of Rome. That idea collapsed in the 1930s when an excavation at Sutton Hoo, England, uncovered a Royal Anglo-Saxon burial site from around 625 AD. Local landowner Edith Pretty hired archaeologist Basil Brown to investigate the large mounds on her property. What they found was a ship burial filled with treasures, jewelry, weapons, and a now iconic iron helmet. The artistry and craftsmanship of the artifacts shocked historians, proving that the so-called Dark Ages were far more sophisticated than previously thought. The discovery rewrote early medieval history, showing that Anglo-Saxon England was rich in culture, wealth, and artistic skill. Sutton Hoo wasn't just a grave. It was evidence that the Middle Ages weren't dark at all. Number 5. LiDAR technology. Archaeology used to rely on shovels, patience, and a little luck. But in recent decades, LiDAR technology has changed the game. Short for light detection and ranging, LiDAR uses lasers mounted on aircraft to create 3D maps of landscapes, even through dense vegetation. This has led to staggering discoveries. In Guatemala and Mexico, LiDAR scans revealed tens of thousands of lost Maya structures, showing that their civilization was far larger and more complex than previously thought. In 2018, anthropologist Stephen Houston described the findings as mind-blowing. Cities were more engineered, populations were denser, and infrastructure was more advanced than anyone imagined. Beyond archaeology, some experts now hope to use LiDAR to create a 3D map of the entire planet, preserving images of ancient sites before climate change erases them. For the first time, lost civilizations are coming back into view, without even lifting a shovel. Number 4. Ancient Chinese beer. We've known for a while that the ancient Chinese weren't strangers to a good drink. Evidence of fermented rice-based booze dates back 9,000 years in Henan province. But in 2016, archaeologists made a very important discovery. The Chinese were also beer lovers. While digging through the Shanxi province, researchers unearthed beer-making equipment dating back to 3,400 to 2,900 BC, the first direct proof of on-site beer brewing in ancient China. Even better, the residue left in the vessels gave away their ancient recipe: broomcorn millet, lily, a grain called Job's tears, and barley. Now here's the real kicker. Barley wasn't even supposed to be in China yet. This discovery pushed back the arrival of the crop by a solid 1,000 years. Apparently, the ancient Chinese weren't just early adopters of agriculture. They were using barley for beer centuries before anyone thought to eat it. Priorities. Number 3. King Tut's extraterrestrial dagger. When Howard Carter cracked open King Tut's tomb in 1922, he found a treasure trove of artifacts, but one object stood out: a dagger made of iron. That might not sound wild until you realize Egyptians didn't really work with iron 3,300 years ago. Even crazier, the dagger never rusted. For nearly a century, this mystery stumped scientists, until 2016, when researchers used X-ray fluorescence spectrometry, fancy science magic, to finally crack the case. Turns out, the dagger was made from a meteorite. Yep, straight-up space metal. The iron's high cobalt and nickel content matched meteorites recovered from the Red Sea, proving that the ancient Egyptians weren't just metal workers, they were literally working with material from space. And this wasn't a one-off. In 2013, another ancient Egyptian artifact tested positive for meteorite iron. Ancient texts even referenced iron of the sky. So while aliens didn't drop off the dagger, the Egyptians definitely knew how to turn space junk into some seriously badass weaponry. Number 2. Greek bureaucracy. If you thought dealing with contracts and rental agreements was a modern nightmare, ancient Greece would like a word. Archaeologists excavating Teos, modern-day Turkey, discovered hundreds of inscribed steles, but one stood out: a 2,200-year-old rental agreement carved into stone. It wasn't just a simple lease. This was full-on Greek bureaucracy in action. A group of gymnasium students inherited a piece of land, complete with buildings, an altar, and even slaves. Instead of keeping it, they rented it out at auction, because apparently, ancient landlords were a thing. The document includes all the hallmarks of a solid legal contract: a guarantor, the renter's dad, witnesses from city officials, and even penalties for late payments and property damage. The owners also retained 3 free days of land use per year, because even 2,200 years ago, people loved their fine print. So next time you're drowning in paperwork, just remember, at least you don't have to chisel your lease into stone. Number 1. Neanderthal STDs. Science has already told us that humans carry about 4% Neanderthal DNA, which explains some of our questionable life choices. But what researchers didn't expect was that along with genetic material, we also inherited their STDs. Through statistical modeling, scientists traced the evolutionary history of HPV-16, the virus linked to cervical cancer. Turns out, Neanderthals and Denisovans had their own distinct strain of HPV, HPV-16A. Meanwhile, when modern humans first migrated out of Africa, they only carried B, C, and D strains. But then came the AHEM cross-species mingling. Once humans and Neanderthals started, well, getting together, the HPV-16A strain jumped into the modern human gene pool, and it's been hanging around ever since. Now, researchers believe this little genetic gift from our Neanderthal ancestors might be why HPV causes cancer in some people, but clears up in others. So, in short, we didn't just get stronger immune systems from our Neanderthal hookups, we got ancient STDs too. If you find this video interesting, like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you pretty soon.